Welcome back to Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians and lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg, your host. We're broadcasting live today from Roseville, Minnesota, in the belly of the beast, the liberal zombie apocalypse of Minneapolis and St. Paul, right near the governor's mansion, the renovated governor's mansion, where on top you'll see an AC unit that says Wallsville. We'll get into that story today on our show. What do we got in store for everyone, MAGA Jesse?
Yeah, we got a good show lined up here. We will be talking about Tim Walz and the Gadsden flag. He apparently is a freedom fighter now. That's news to us. He was nothing but a tyrant as governor. We'll be discussing how Kamala's campaign is imploding. Royce White has been calling out David Hand, the MNGOP chairman. So that we'll be breaking down everything that's going on there. And then a discussion on Trump and what we're going to do this November.
Third wheeling today is two people, so that's third and fourth wheeling. Is that how I say it? Third and fifth wheeling? I don't know how to put it.
No
Whatever.
idea.
All right, so we're going to talk about Governor Walz, who supports freedom, with the one person he ended up putting in jail for 60 days, a grandma who served a cup of coffee, Lisa Hanson. Welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for having me again. It's always fun to be here with you guys.
Absolutely, and we've told your story on this show, and we were on top of this when it came out in 2020 and 2021. Yours last a lot longer than the other ones, actually, because you ended up in jail. And coming back to the show for the first time in a long time, which has always got a standing invite. He doesn't even have to say anything. He could just show up, and we would bring him on the show. Dr. Neil Shaw, welcome back.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
By the way, we got taken off YouTube the other day for one of our shows for medical misinformation. This is what happens. I bring Mark Mashosky on the show, who is a respiratory therapist. He gets me kicked off for medical misinformation. I get a male-trained doctor, Dr. Neil Shaw. He gets me kicked off on YouTube because, YouTube has, the tech guys are much smarter on medical information than you are. So, of course, you're the one that's the medical misinformation, right? By the way, speaking of medical misinformation, Fauci didn't come to Minnesota on Tuesday, did he?
Yep. So, yeah, that's right. We had a big rally planned and a protest to show that we didn't want Fauci there. The U of M was deciding to honor him. They wanted to come, give him an award, give him a lecture, give him the ability to prop himself up as if Minnesota wants that. So what we did, Action for Liberty, was we organized a protest to be there. We find out hours before the event, Fauci cancels unforeseen circumstances. So what does that mean? It shows that we had an impact, and it shows that he didn't want to confront a group of people that were going to be there in opposition. So we went to the university, caught some of the stragglers, had a victory party here at the headquarters. It was nothing but a win because it showed that Minnesota is fed up with Fauci. We don't want to, we don't respect these tyrants, these people like Fauci. So it was nothing but a win for us, and nice to see that Fauci had, was a no-show.
And I don't understand it because, Jesse, you very clearly said to everyone, let's peacefully and patriotically go over to Northrop Hall and protest Anthony Fauci.
Yep.
Peacefully and patriotically, right?
Unlike the Palestinian protests who took over the Memorial Hall on Monday, was it?
Yeah.
So
tensions were high, I guess.
Yeah, there were Palestinian protests there, too. That was interesting. People thought we were an anti-Palestine protest at first. I told them, no, we're about Fauci,
Right.
We're trying to stop the medical tyranny. So it was interesting. I got interviewed by little media and whatnot. So we had an impact, and it's nice to see that, we can still cause an impact and force Fauci out of the state. It's going to be rescheduled. So when that time comes, when he comes back to the U of M, and if he ever does want to show up again, but if he does, we'll be ready.
Yeah. Running the dials as always, Mr. Deep State himself, Dawson. How you doing, Dawson?
I'm doing good, but I forgot to charge my camera's battery, so I'm in the dark today.
Oh, well, good. He's no part of the show. That'll cheer on our fans.
Look at me.
Liberty Longbeard will be joining us towards the end and for the post show. If you want to interrupt us anytime, hit that Rumble rant. I don't know if you guys have ever done this. It's fun. You're just like on your phone, and basically I think it takes out your Apple funds, or Brad Ganser made fun of me for that. Apple Pay, whatever, it's fun. So if you want to interrupt us, do a Rumble rant, and we'll be forced to read your comment. Otherwise, we'll try to get to a lot of your comments on Rumble and YouTube. All right, let's get right into this.
And I should mention, I just had it pulled up now. We got Tucker91 in the comments. We got Scuba McSalty, Razzle Dazzle, Laser Jim, Daisy2980, and M Bauer44. So appreciate all you guys. And like Jake said, give a Rumble rant if you want your comment for sure read.
Neil, have you seen this video clip yet? This one about how the Gadsden or he didn't. I don't. People doesn't know it's called
flag.
Gadsden.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how many people know the history of what a Gadsden flag is? I mean,
Probably
start
not.
all the way at the basics, right?
Yeah, he called it "Don't Tread on Me" flag. So
Right.
Although maybe he did that because the audience wouldn't know what the heck the Gadsden flag is.
Probably not, or they think it's like a white supremacy object.
But that's literally what they called it. They did back in the Tea Party days. This is a white supremacy flag. It's a racist flag. And now he's like, hey, these guys should be on board with Kamala and me. Well, actually, that does make sense, doesn't it? No.
Well, remember
You seen the clip that I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And do you remember when that kid got kicked out of school? He had that patch on his backpack or something, and the teacher tried to say that that insinuates slavery when it's the opposite of slavery that it's pushing for.
Well, all of the Revolutionary War flags, right? And Appeal to God, that one, where it got negative press.
Yeah, the Supreme Court justice's wife had put it up. Yeah.
So there's a lot of lack of history knowledge, but that's the state of public education in this country.
Yeah, and I was gonna get the clip of Kamala talking about World War II and how we were isolationists, and that didn't go well for us. But dang it, I forgot to do it in show prep. I won't add it on you, Dawson. I won't make your life harder.
I appreciate it.
All right, let's go into this clip. This is Tim Walz. Dude, these guys are just desperate at this point. They have you guys noticed their talking points are all over the place right now. They don't know what's gonna stick. So now you got Coach Walz. Look how manufactured that background is, too. Oh, coach. So did you see that Antonio Brown said he's no coach or something like that?
Yeah.
Antonio Brown's going hard for Trump now.
Yep.
Football player. Did you know that? Yeah, I know. Lisa's giving me this look like, who? Should I know who Antonio Brown is? So anyhow, this is Tim Walz speaking in front of Kamala crowd yesterday about how the people that like freedom should love them. Go ahead, play it.
Twitter.
And this is where when Kamala talks about freedom, be very clear. And this is where the party of Reagan should be with it. The freedom for you to make decisions about your life, not government officials. Where this room should be full of the people who fly the "Don't Tread on Me" flags, because Trump wants to tread all over your personal freedoms when we're the ones saying, not on our watch, not on our watch. We need to start flying that flag, I'll tell you that.
Oh,
When
really?
Kamala-
So I grabbed the one that we always have here. We don't usually have it on set. Threw it behind me real quick. Lisa Hanson, you spent 60 days in jail because Tim Walz dialed back your freedom, dialed back all of our freedoms, because technically us consumers weren't supposed to go to your bistro. You open it up in defiance of Governor Walz, serve a cup of coffee, ends up putting you in jail for 60 days. What do you think when you hear him say something like that?
It's unbelievable. It really stirs up a lot of different emotions in me. I'm sitting here with tears in my eyes because it's just an absolute lie, complete opposite. It angers me. This is politics, though, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they lie through their teeth. They tell us lie. So the very thing that they do, they say we're doing it, or the Republicans are doing it, or whatever. They throw it on, the other side. And so the very thing that they do, and then they say that they're this wonderful, they're all about freedom and whatever. Absolutely not.
Well, they are when
Absolutely
it's
not.
freedom of killing an unborn baby, right?
That is true.
Seems like the one freedom that they say they are for.
Yeah. Freedom
And
to
mutilating
have-
children.
Yeah, mutilating children.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that one up
Yeah.
too. So they want us to have those types of freedoms, which are not freedoms at all. But yet, when it comes to making decisions for ourselves, like serving a cup of coffee to a willing customer, then you're going to pay the price for doing something like that.
You ran against this guy. Obviously, you didn't make it past the Republican endorsement, but you were running to replace Tim Walz. And I know a lot of your supporters had Gadsden flags. Were you foolishly running against a guy that was pro-freedom? What's with you? Why would you run against this guy?
The ultimate litmus test is what you do, not what you say. And when Tim Walz had a chance to defend freedom in one of the more difficult situations, he chose not to. People can make a decision. If they want to stay at home, they can stay at home. If they want to go have a cup of coffee, they can have a cup of coffee. The people on the left were perfectly fine with people having sex parties with 10 or fewer people and keep your mask on.
Let's follow the science there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so you could do that because somehow that was okay, but you couldn't get a cup of coffee, presumably more than 6 feet away from the next person who had a cup of coffee, right? sat closer than that at a restaurant to anyone that I didn't come with.
Yeah,
so.
I just generally don't want to be that close to most
No, I don't.
people, right?
Yeah.
Plus, you
it's
served
incredibly
wine at
bizarre.
your bistro, and we all know alcohol kills COVID because that's why Walz kept liquor stores wide open.
Ah,
Right? That's science, isn't it? Isn't that science? No?
somebody's
Anyone?
science.
Survey says.
So it's
Wait, you closed churches down, Tim Walz, but you left liquor stores open? My God.
That's right.
And
So
don't
yeah,
forget
it's
the strip
gaslighting,
clubs
which
as well.
like you allude to. They
Yeah.
gaslight you. They do the things that they do the opposite of what they say. And this clip is hilarious. I mean, if you had a time machine, you can go back and see this is what Tim Walz is going to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
They don't care about freedom. They think the government gives you freedoms.
Yes.
They don't understand
Exactly.
that your
That's
freedoms
true.
derive from a higher authority, and the job of the government is to protect those freedoms. And so if no one was forcing people to go have a cup of coffee
Right.
at your place. No one was forcing you to be open, but you were.
Well, I always made this argument that the actual people disobeying Governor Walz were us who went
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
because all she did is open it. If no one came, would there have been any problem, right? She opened it, but nobody came.
Right.
It's us that went there. Like
Right.
Eric Mortensen and I did a very public tour across the state of Minnesota, went to all these governor or these businesses that were defying the governor. Aren't we the ones they should have been coming after? But no, they go after the bar owners because they have a tool, and the tool in their chest
Right.
is the Department of Health.
Right.
But it requires more than Tim Walz. I mean, Tim Walz didn't actually preside over your case. There was a
That's-
judge,
yes.
a judge, right?
Right.
it
Thank you for
was
that.
it was the instruments of the state, right?
Yeah.
The police
Right.
arrested you, a
Right.
prosecutor persecuted you, and a judge had a sham trial.
Yeah.
So we can blame Tim Walz, but the organs of the state were the ones who actually carried it out, and that's always the case, right? They're always going to carry it out at the behest of politicians who want to suppress freedoms. And all of those people had a choice to participate or not participate, and they chose to participate.
We always say that the reason he came after the business owners was to make an example, and they had to walk this thing all the way through. The tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands. I have no idea what they spent on our cases collectively. Larvita McFarquhar, Lisa Monet, myself, Jane Moss. There were a few others. I'd like to know who they spent the most on. Maybe is that some sort of a trophy I could get?
I don't
for they
know. I
spent the
feel
most
like
on me?
of all you guys, and even though you went to jail, Lisa Monet got the raw end of the stick. They made a case out of her.
Yeah.
And she had a hopping awesome place, the Alibi Drinkery in
She had-
Lakeville.
yeah, 2 places.
Yeah. And now she left the state.
Yeah.
She is a true patriot. Well, all those are, but
Yeah.
and I love Jane to death. She just retired, by the way, mostly just because she can't find workers. So she kind of got sick, and she's at that age where she kind of thought,
Might as well.
might as well. But Lisa Monet, literally left Minnesota. They ruined her life.
Yeah.
And now she's doing well. She's an awesome person, and she's got a great hopping place just across the border in Wisconsin. Literally, it's right across the border. I think, because I know that area well, Hager City, it's right across from Red Wing. I don't even know if the border's a half a mile away. That's how close it is. And she just moved over, and then wide open arms. Come on over here. Start a business over here.
Yeah, she's doing great.
Yeah. All right. So Walz actually talked about a freedom dial. Those of us that live in Minnesota remember this. It became known as the Walz freedom dial. And he would dial back your freedoms. Jesse, where was Trump's freedom dial? Do you remember him talking about a freedom dial?
I don't remember that.
That's right. I don't remember that either. All right. So this is Tim Walz in his own words doing a press conference. By the way, I just got to say this. Can we just admit, you're a scientist, cloth masks have basically zero utility. Is that correct?
Well, they tell you to avoid the person wearing them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just at a restaurant.
That's the utility. That's
I was
true.
just at a restaurant, saw someone with one on, and I was like, I'm not going to have a conversation with her.
And I don't know if that's just because they're nutty people, or maybe that's why I was against the forced mask, because I'm like, when I went to a grocery store and I saw someone with a mask on, a surgical mask, it's like, give that person a wide berth. Maybe they have something, right?
Right.
And it's like, then everyone's wearing it. Well, no, you don't have that signal. So look at this dork. I mean, look at this. And he does a press conference with a mask on. That's how nutty this guy is. If you just take it off, you don't look as bizarre.
Right.
He does this press conference with his goofy mask on. So try to listen to what he's saying here. I want you to hear the audio.
What's the date on this?
This is
Jake?
November 2020 when he was shutting down the state again. Do I have that right, Dawson? What does it say? He's talking about the second.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, so remember, we have your initial shutdown in March. No one knows what's going on. We started fighting that Action for Liberty right away. because we didn't think that the power of the governor allows him to just unilaterally shut down the state. But none of us knew anything about COVID. This is November 2020. We kind of know some things about COVID, and he's dialing back our freedoms. Go ahead and play this.
The question is about closing down the state. I want to be clear that for all of us, what we've learned since March about COVID is quite a bit. And we've certainly learned a lot about how it spreads. We've learned about how our behaviors impact that. Using the tools that we have, and especially back in March, we opened up that toolbox, and one of the things we did was do a stay-at-home order. What I would have to say is we've learned a lot about this. That's a pretty blunt instrument to attack COVID-19. It's one that has incredible ramifications.
Okay, let's stop there. So first of all, it's not necessarily attacking COVID-19. What it's doing is it's attacking our freedoms. He has a tool chest, or did he call it toolbox? Toolbox. What was it? Toolbox? What did he say? Toolbox or tool chest?
I
Can't
wasn't
remember which
listening.
one. In his toolbox, he's got a bunch of tools, and one of those is basically locking you in your home. That's what the stay-at-home sounds so much better. I wonder if that was like. It wasn't poll tested at the time, but I'm sure that he brought in his messaging guys. Guys, what are we going to call this literally draconian thing where we're going to force people to stay in their homes? Well, let's call it a stay-at-home order. That's good. They literally locked us in our homes. Well, I shouldn't say literally.
No, it's home imprisonment.
It is home
Sentence
imprisonment.
everyone to home confinement.
But Neil, in one Minnesota, for those that are watching this not in Minnesota, literally walls kept running on one Minnesota. We're all one Minnesota. Except for we had essential and non-essential workers during COVID. Like you own a liquor store wide open. You own a bistro, you can't be open. Like, my God, this is crazy. So anyhow, this is his. So then he started referring to this freedom dial. I don't think he says dial in there, but if you go back to that YouTube video there, Dawson, I think they're already characterizing it as. But if you pull up this next link, it's A3. This is his actual emergency order for the second shutdown, I should say. just do a word find, Control F, and type in dial. I think it's about right in the title, implementing a 4-week dial back on certain activities, and then I think there's like 7 of these things. Dial back, right? So this is how we started coming up with the term that Walz has literally got a freedom dial. Now I remember seeing like a graphic for a freedom dial. I can't remember if that was literally something they made or something like, no, you shake your head, Dawson, but I actually am not surprised if they would have had like a dial just so we knew where we were currently at. Kind of like, the threat, like at the airports, we're in the severe or we're in the, you know what I'm saying? Do you guys remember this at all?
Yeah, well, I think that they use the same messaging piece in every state, right? I mean, Andy Beshear's Kentucky, here, New York, Michigan, every state run by a leftist lunatic did the same thing, that they we can control you. I mean, it's no different than what China did to people. They didn't weld your door shut, but they were sure going to arrest you if you decided to go outside.
Jesse's like, yeah, China, exactly. Do you know how many times Tim Walz went to China?
Yeah, exactly.
China.
We got a $5 rumble in. Failed candidate says, how did this bastard get reelected in 2022?
All right, let's pose that question to the guy that ran against him.
Yeah, exactly.
Was it reelected or was it reselected?
Reselected, I guess. Where did I hear that Jensen's thinking about running again? Where did I see that?
There's been a few people saying it.
Okay.
Yeah,
did he say
it's
it?
out there. I don't know if Jensen has said it himself, but I mean, there's definitely sources out there saying that he's thinking about going for it again.
Look at the failed candidate's comment there.
Yeah. Hey Neil, are they done restoring your mansion yet?
I'd leave that graffiti up for all time if I was in that.
But now we know who did it.
That's right.
Oh man, I can't wait to get to that story a little bit more today. Yeah, so literally the dials were something done by all these Democrat governors. I think I don't know if everyone realizes it. So Cuomo got in the hot seat for putting COVID patients in nursing homes. Mm-hmm. So did Tim Walz.
Right, that killed people. 100% for sure.
100% killed people. Yeah. And then obviously, we have to understand Tim Walz did implement a vaccine mandate on state employees in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Of course, he thought a lot of the private sector was covered by Joe Biden's mandate. And he had lost his emergency powers at that point. But in state employees, he literally because that's the difference is once you have self-declared emergency powers, you can give orders to everyone, right? Because that's how America works, right? That's America. We just Republic, Constitution, put it aside. I've declared emergency orders, and Keith Ellison didn't take them away, so they're good, because that's essentially it. He's got like 5 yes men that say, yeah, you can keep those. Those are good, right? So I guess technically the legislature could get rid of them, but we know the dynamics there. So he could only at that point mandate, thanks to Action for Liberty, by the way, leading the way in stopping his emergency powers by the rollout of vaccine mandates in late fall or fall of 2021. So he mandates them for state employees. Now, last I checked, that's not a health freedom issue. I think he's on the wrong side of health freedom on that one. I feel like he's actually getting rid of people's control and decision with their own private doctor.
Well, isn't there also supposed to be a public sector union? Where was the union in representing their members and saying, oh, no, this wasn't part of any collective bargaining agreement. We didn't agree to this. There were unions, by the way, that stood up and said, no. Like, that's not part of our, collective bargaining agreement. So we are not going to impose any kind of, we're not going to allow you to impose a mandate related to employment on our members.
And you remember that actually happened.
The unions in many cases failed, but some private sector unions said that.
Well, you remember actually, I think it was the St. Paul Police or Fire actually did that.
Yep.
And
they did their job.
Yeah, you're right.
They did their job.
And by the way, let's expand that even further. I don't know if you were an Albert Lee Chamber of Commerce member, but we were pretty, there's good chambers, like you get to cities and towns and stuff like that, but the chamber that's run statewide, certainly nationally, they're just cronies, right? Yeah. The Chamber of Commerce, where were they during the lockdowns, the shutdowns? Like literally, Action for Liberty is leading the way on restoring businesses. And the Chamber of Commerce is like silent when literally commerce is illegal in Minnesota. Or commerce, if you're, a small restaurant or bar or bowling alley, I think. I can't remember what all the things are. If you're a candy store, by the way, you're fine. You can be fine there.
Yeah, dance studios, gyms.
Yeah, that's right, gyms.
Don't forget the strip clubs. They were okay to be open.
The strip clubs is fine, but gyms aren't. It all makes sense, guys. Dial back those freedoms. All right, so anyhow, a lot of people in Minnesota dislike Tim Walz. So we broke this story on, what was that, Monday. And we did the show on Tuesday. Somebody went up in the renovated governor's mansion. Tim Walz isn't living there, by the way, right now. He's on other government subsidized housing. He doesn't own a house. Do you know that? Yeah, he doesn't own a house. He's literally on government subsidized housing. He's got 2 homes at the taxpayers' expense. Yeah. So he's on the U of M campus or wherever they put the old president, and his mansion's being renovated. And we got a tip that somebody put Walz failed on the AC unit on the top of the roof. So we were able to get aerial footage, and it showed clearly that there is a big Walz failed. I don't know if it's spray paint. Kind of looks like spray paint. But there's a big Walz failed on the rooftop of the governor's mansion. So we break the story, and then we put it on Twitter, and we spent a little money to promote it on Twitter. And this is just so funny. So I had some lefty scroll down there, Dawson. He goes, kind of sad that you paid to get this promoted and you got little engagement. But this is by Dotar J. Trumpanzini.
Trademarked.
So, what's that?
It's trademarked.
It's trademark, exactly. Yep. So anyhow, so it's so sad that this thing didn't get much attention, except for when you go look on Google the term Walz failed, and you see this. CBS News, vandals tag Walz failed on roof of Minnesota governor's mansion. Fox 9, Walz failed written on governor's mansion roof in St. Paul. Yahoo News, Walz failed written on Minnesota governor's mansion. And by the way, you see on the top left is KSTP Channel 5. Apparently, Channel 5 Chopper, I think they call it Chopper 5, was flying over the governor's mansion just to confirm the story we broke on Monday. So all the news, they're like, oh, this is probably fake. Let's go check it out. We got fact checked. Turns out 100% true. And look at all those headlines about how Walz failed. Now, that's a damn good troll. I have no idea. I'll be honest with you. My source didn't reveal who did it. I don't know if they know who did it. I just was able to find out it was done. And I know a lot of people would like to buy that person a beer. I have no idea what their fate is. I don't know if they'll find out. But that's a pretty damn good one. That's a good troll. That's a high-level troll. All right, let's move on to Kamala's campaign imploding. Did you guys notice Kamala did a CNN town hall last night? Actually, you didn't even know about this when I came in this morning, Jesse, right? She did a town hall with Anderson Cooper. And she was asked a question. This is what I love about El Presidente, Dave Portnoy. Yeah. He's not that political, right? He's kind of anti-political, but he's got to now.
Calling out these clowns when they do clownish things, right?
Right.
Without fear or favor. Yeah.
That's it. That is him. And his dad is apparently anti-Trump. Do you know who El Presidente is? You're not going to get any of my sports references, are you?
I'm not.
I just knew that, Lisa. You give me this look.
I'm not into sports. I'm sorry.
At all?
No, only when my kids were in taekwondo. Then I was into taekwondo sport.
Isn't that an art?
Okay, maybe it is. I don't know.
Do you ever watch any football games?
No, not really.
That's why you opened up a bistro, wine bistro.
Yeah.
Because most of us just open bars, right? You opened a wine bistro. There's no sports at that.
There were no
point.
sports television, no TVs,
God.
no monitors, no nothing. Yeah.
How do we get along so well, Lisa?
I don't know.
What do we have nothing alike.
Well, there's a couple things.
Except for hating tyranny, right?
Yeah.
And Harley Davidson too, right?
Yeah.
There you go. All right, so this is a CNN town hall. Anderson Cooper asked, I don't know, a simple, basic question. Most people should be able to answer this question.
Standard interview question. This is a standard interview question.
Standard interview.
She was probably asked this when she interviewed at McDonald's. This exact question.
By the way, I looked up ChatGPT. Did Kamala Harris work at McDonald's? And ChatGPT says, yes, she did. And then it just references her saying she did. Yeah. And I was like, is there any proof on it? And I can't remember what the response was. I'm like, oh, wow. So as long as a politician says so, AI will say it's true. Oh wow. This is going to be really interesting.
It is.
I have no idea, by the way, if that's true or not. But you can't fault Trump for going at her on that one. That's
She would have brought the receipts if it was true. She would have had a picture. She would have had something. She would have had a name tag. She would have had something if it was real.
But hold on. I worked at Festival Foods when I was 15.
But did you work at McDonald's?
Oh, because the prestige of McDonald's? Is that what your point is?
I don't know. I worked at McDonald's. Neil, did you work at McDonald's?
I did not, no.
Lisa, you're younger than Kamala, but you're not that much younger, right? You're 50, so she's 60, so you're 10 years younger than her, right? 49, sorry. 49? Okay.
Sure.
50?
How about I think, how old is she?
She's 60. She just turned 60.
We're the same age.
Can't be. I had you placed at 50. All right, Lisa, I'll take your fake news for a second.
He just wants me to come back on the show again sometime.
There you go. All right, so you're the same age as Kamala. When did you work at McDonald's?
I was, I think it was my first job. After I worked at my parents' retail store, it was my first real job. So I would have been 14, I believe.
Okay, so
no, they wouldn't let you hire. They wouldn't let you work at 14.
15 with a parent note.
Maybe this was Arkansas, so it was maybe 15, 14, 15.
Okay, prove it. Could you?
Do you have any memorabilia or anything you kept from then?
You should see the way I flip a burger.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. So I worked at Dairy Queen for a year when I was it was my job after it was the job before my great job of working at Gander Mountain in the archery department and camping. God, that was a fun job. Made no money, spent it all at Gander Mountain. They don't even exist anymore. Gander Mountain's an old school. You probably don't even know what that is, do you?
No.
They don't exist anymore?
No, they basically went bust and then they got bought by Camper World. That's why all those old Gander Mountains now have the ginormous American flag and RVs all over.
Okay, gotcha.
So I can still make the
You
cone.
can still make the swirl on the top,
I can make the swirl. If you put me up next to soft serve, I will do that instinctively.
There you go.
And if you give me a blizzard, I want to go like this with it.
I mean, who really cares whether she worked at McDonald's or not? But don't lie about it.
Well, hold on.
Right,
so this is a breaking story. I didn't know. I had you on the show.
$5 Rumble rant real quick. Phil Cannon says it would be easy to confirm if she worked at McDonald's. Just ask her manager, Willie Brown. Willie Brown might be the guy to ask. He would be able to confirm it or not.
So that happened at a McDonald's then? Sanitary issues there.
You don't toss a lot of salads at McDonald's.
Well, they didn't have the salads at McDonald's back then.
Yeah, no.
All right, so Lisa, could you prove it?
We did fry our fries in tallow.
Oh, they were so good back then.
I know.
I think you're dodging the question here. You're very relevant here. You're the same age as Kamala. You worked at McDonald's allegedly at the same time. we just said, will she bring the receipts? Can you bring a receipt?
I don't.
No picture, a uniform, anything.
Let me be clear.
Did you come from a middle-class family? A middle-income class family? That's what you...
I absolutely... Let me be clear.
Oh, you're clear.
I wish I could...
You got to be more nasally, too.
I know. I need to work on the... I need to work on the,
all right,
the thing, but...
we'll work on the Kamala impression. We got our Trump impression.
I don't know. How do you prove something like that?
I think you could, well, like you said, like, okay, well, tell me something about the process of doing it, right? How long do the fries sit in the fryer? How long does this and that? Tell me something that only an employee would know.
Sure.
And
you
so
should be able to
no
rail
one
that
asked,
off right away,
asked that
right?
question? Or
Yeah,
what?
Phil Cannon says she would have gotten a W-2, so maybe her taxes
but
could
hold on.
From
But
way
she's
back then,
15. Like, I don't have mine when I worked.
way-
You know what
No,
I'm
she
saying?
wasn't 15. That's not what she says.
Oh, I
I
thought
think
she
she
worked
says
there.
she was 17 or 18. So
I mean, same difference. You're still under your parents' taxes. Like, I don't remember.
Something about the process. I mean, I worked at Radio Shack in college. I could tell you what it's like to work at Radio Shack.
Oh,
It
you
was
just
great.
dated yourself there, Neil.
Yep.
Let's go over the Radio
Didn't
Shack.
do well after me. But yeah, there's something about it, right? You could say something about that job that would clearly indicate that you were there and did it. Something that no one from the outside would have knowledge about.
Okay. And but of course, no one in the media is asking her that question.
No.
Okay, but you wouldn't have any uniform. I actually might still at my parents' house, but I'm 42. I'm not her
You're
age.
not old like me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
whatever.
60 years old.
Well, that's
Yeah,
not that
no, I
bad.
don't know.
You know,
I might
60 is
have
the new 40, by the way.
Oh, good to hear.
Yeah. All right. So yeah. Okay. So that is somewhat problematic in order to prove it. Doesn't matter. Trump did a great stunt. Everyone understands it. Did you guys know that was staged? By the way.
What?
Oh my God! It was staged. Those weren't real customers. He didn't really get hired by McDonald's.
well, it's not that they weren't real customers. I mean, those were real
No,
customers.
they weren't
getting
because
real
apparently he
food.
paid for everybody.
But they're getting real food, you know.
Well, that's true,
They
but they're not
ordered the
customer.
food, it's not like they're just getting handed random food. I think they ordered that. They selected the food
They had to
wanted.
vet the people to make sure they weren't going to, try to
Assassinate
shoot him
Trump,
again.
yeah, in the drive-thru, right?
Yeah. Why? That wouldn't happen, would it?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to the CNN town hall with Anderson Cooper. Yes, sir. Very simple question. What mistakes have you made that you can talk about? Go ahead and play this real quick. This is interesting
Is there
stuff.
something you can point to in your life, political life or in your life in the last 4 years, that you think is a mistake that you have learned from?
I mean, I've made many mistakes.
Name one.
No
Just
kidding.
They range from, if you've ever parented a child, you make lots of mistakes.
No one's
too.
laughing.
In my
Okay,
role
in that range,
as
what's
vice
one?
president, I mean, I've probably worked
Go ahead.
very hard at making sure that I am well versed on issues, and I think that is very important. It's a mistake not to be well versed on an issue and feel compelled to answer a question.
Is there some...
Okay,
So there's no mistake you
but
made.
she has no kids, right?
So that was the other thing that got me. Because
I'm pretty sure she has no kids.
she
has
has
stepkids.
not.
Does she? have
Yeah,
kids?
step-
Okay,
But
okay.
when,
Yeah,
when did she step in?
well,
That's my question.
Right. I don't know, but whenever she married Doug Imhoff, which that might have been 2016 or something like that. But yeah, it's his kids from a previous
Okay,
marriage.
Wait, so
Okay.
when did Doug sleep with his nanny? Let's look that
Yeah.
up, and then we'll find out when
Last
they ended
or
up.
first?
Was it last year? Kamala Harris. I'm kind of curious because I know where your head's going. As a parent, young kids, you and I, Neil, kind of seems like there's some stolen valor there, right? So she married Doug in 2014, and they have two. So she's got the two stepchildren. One is that. Well, I'll leave the kids out of it.
Yeah, I mean, you
So
can
the
make
kid would have been-
parental mistake
okay.
at any age, and
So
stepkids are not.
14,
That doesn't matter.
15 at the
yeah,
time.
that counts. But it's just such a terrible non-answer, right? So if a potential employee gave me that answer, I'd be like, "This is wild." I mean, there's a variety of ways to answer it. As a political
Yeah.
candidate, you could just say, once I wore black shoes with a round belt, right? I mean, you could turn it into a joke.
Wait, what's
There's
wrong
any
with that?
number of charming ways to answer that question, or you can legitimately answer the question.
Yeah. The Afghanistan
because she's
withdrawal.
done all these pivots now on her previous totally insane voting record, and then also what she did when she was in office. And so she could say, "Yep, I made a mistake originally not prioritizing a legal path to citizenship or closing our border." Right? There's any number of ways that someone that's run even at a state house level should be able to answer. Anyone who's done basic politics should be able to answer this question. And the fact that she can't string together a joke, an honest reply, any explanation of her pivot shows you just how vacuous she is. I mean, there's just...
For an anticipated question, like you said, too, this is an easy question to expect.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you brought up pivot because that's our next clip. Anderson Cooper asked a question, quite frankly, she should be asked all the time and was asked multiple times on the Fox News interview. Your views on the border. Why haven't you fixed these issues? And by the way, what's your view on the border wall? Let's go ahead and play this clip. This is the B2, Dawson.
Under Donald Trump, you criticized the wall more than 50 times. You called it stupid, useless, and a medieval vanity project. Is a border wall stupid?
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall. So remember, Donald Trump said Mexico would pay for it? Come on, they didn't. How much of that wall did he build? I think the last number I saw is about 2%. And then when it came for time for him to do a photo op, you know where he did it? In the part of the wall that President Obama built.
But you're agreeing to a bill that would earmark $650 million to continue building that wall.
I pledge that I am going to bring forward that bipartisan bill to further strengthen and secure our border. Yes, I am. And I'm going to work across the aisle to pass a comprehensive bill that deals with a broken immigration system. I think Jackson's question, part of it was to acknowledge that America has always had migration, but there needs to be a legal process for it. People have to earn it. Right. And that's the point that I think is the most important point that can be made, which is we need a president who is grounded in common sense and practical outcomes. Like, let's just fix this thing. Let's just fix it. Why is there any ideological perspective on it? Let's just fix the problem.
Who's in charge right now?
To fix the problem, you're doing this compromise bill. It does call for $650 million that was earmarked under Trump to actually still go to build the wall.
I'm not afraid of good ideas where they occur.
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense because he actually didn't do much of anything. I just talked about that wall, right? We just talked about it. He didn't actually do much of anything.
But you do want to build some wall.
I want to strengthen our border.
I mean, like, look, good for
wait,
good.
Can I just say, where's the vomit bucket, please?
Anderson Cooper.
Good for the last remaining Vanderbilt to at least ask her the question a couple times, right? I mean, for her, that's about as hard of a question as she's going to get, and you can see her fold, right? Being president is not an easy job. If you can't even handle that basic of a question, and if you're so unskilled that you don't even know how to dodge that question, ask that question to any senator. They're going to dodge all over the place, right? They'll give you an answer that's consistent with a politician that at least knows how to be a politician. She doesn't even understand how to be a politician, much less president, much less someone who's actually going to be a statesman and lead this country.
Right, because it's so inconsistent. She's saying, we don't need ideological perspective. She was the one who was, he quoted all the ideological perspective by her where she calls it, a vanity project, that it's medieval, that it's evil and whatnot. Yeah, and, she talks about how Trump did nothing on the border, he got the Mexican military to guard the border, and he did that by saying, if you guys don't do this, I'm cutting off all your aid, which is a huge thing that if you don't, which I would have been fine with us cutting off the aid as well. So that would have worked out just fine. And then, he says that the way he was getting the border wall paid for was through the U.S. Mexico-Canada trade agreement, which was, a massive improvement from NAFTA, which, only was going to happen because of a populist like Trump trying to renegotiate that trade deal. So was it directly, it just shows the Democrats never cared about the border to begin with. Even when, even if Mexico did pay for it, they were still going to be against it then. It's only now, after borders are, Kamala Harris realizes that's a major issue to people, that she's changing her perspective, a total 180.
I think that they got too comfortable. Sorry, I can't switch to me. I think they got too comfortable with her not being Trump as being enough to run on. That is the most.
Well, that's all she's got.
That's all she's got now, right? She may legitimately lose the Hispanic vote outright. Like literally 50+1 may go Trump, which is wild, but not wild when you consider that those folks, came here legally. They're Americans. Their jobs are at risk. from illegal immigration, and they want someone who's going to help them protect their incomes and their livelihoods and rein in crime and any of the variety of things that happen when you have, Chinese special ops running across the southern border, you have Venezuelan gang members running across the southern border. It's wild. You're not a country if you don't have a border. You know what happens in Switzerland if you walk across without a permit? They walk you back at gunpoint, like, get out.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a country. That's what defines a country, is that we have borders that we enforce. Now, obviously, everyone wants some degree of immigration, but who is coming in what numbers, for what jobs, for what need are they fulfilling? That can't happen if you have no vetting. And again, it's Chinese nationals, Indian nationals, people from the Middle East. Like, it's not single moms carrying their kids on their back looking for a job in a sweatshop. Okay, that's what the Democrats always make it out to be. And I'm granted there's some of those folks coming across, but she has, subsequent to this interview, said that she wants a pathway to citizenship for every illegal immigrant. That's wild. And that is not something that's going to win her an election. That's not something that's going to win any Democrat an election. So you've now see this break. So clearly on policy, she's lost. And now it's just attack Trump. Trump's a Nazi, right? But even even people that are Democrats running for what shouldn't have been competitive seats now becoming competitive seats are like, I don't like Trump, but I like his policies. Like, when you have that kind of schism for Democrats in that party, I think your campaign's over.
Right.
Yeah.
All right,
I think so too. Yeah, we got a $50 Rumble rant. Phil Can says, "Damn it, Neil! If I don't see you announced for governor by January, I'll make the announcement for you. Hashtag save soda. Hashtag we need Neil." So, Neil,
what does that? What does that make it? How does that make you feel when somebody by the name failed candidate tells you that?
I mean, I can't be typing my own texts right now as I would be giving myself a Rumble rant. No, I mean, it's certainly very complimentary. I've heard some really nice things post convention, and and I think if you had to do over again, maybe people would make a different decision. It's unclear if in 22 Minnesota's ready for a constitutional conservative to win.
Well, obviously, you know this. I'm your biggest fan. I've always told you if you run again, I would do whatever I can to help you out. We chatted all the time when you were running. Obviously, you hired some pretty good young guys, Fletcher.
Great team.
And
great
Bridget.
Team.
Bridget worked
great
on your
team.
campaign.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. It's just like, you are a young guy growing a business, had your fourth child on the way. Your fourth child was born a week before the endorsing convention.
Yeah, little D was at the convention getting passed around. I think we changed the dirty diaper. Like, everyone just huddled around and then just changed it right on the floor because Sarah couldn't miss a vote. She was a delegate.
Yep.
So,
and honest to God, it's like, it was a bad time. I remember you being like, I can only give 10 hours, and I can only give 5 hours a week.
Brutal.
It's
brutal.
Meanwhile, Mike Murphy and Scott Jensen literally campaigned full time. They travel the state of Minnesota, meeting every delegate, which is a cool part of the system. But yeah, it was
sometimes
tough.
sometimes it's the right idea at the wrong time.
Yeah.
And the more I think in retrospect about it, I think it was a lot of that. The state wasn't ready. People weren't ready.
They weren't ready.
Now, if you look at what the Republican Party has become, it's JFK's Democrat Party. Pro-worker, pro-small business, anti-war, pro-peace, pro-limited government, pro-constitution, pro-constitutional rights. It's wild to think that in the span of 20 years, we went from a Republican Party that was silk-stocking, pro-war, George Bush,
Dick Cheney,
kill people in other countries, Dick Cheney. Right now, Dick Cheney is stumping for a Democrat.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're accepting it too, which is crazy.
I think everyday Americans who built this country and who will build this country into the future have gone to the Republican Party. It's our job to keep them there and keep putting candidates forward at every level. And if you have, I think that the real battle in Minnesota is the House and the Senate. And then the statewide candidates are kind of the outcome of winning that battle at the grassroots level. I mean, Iowa, I think, is one of the best states in the nation, and it's because the activists took over the party, they took over the state house, the state senate, and they took a not terribly strong conservative as their governor and made her sign the right bills into law because they were going to get passed anyways if she signed on to them or not.
Yeah.
And she looks great, she gets to take credit, whatever. But that state has come so far, and it's a labor blue state, big ag business. Minnesota, I think, has a lot more resources. We're different than Iowa. I think we're better. But if they could do it, I think that's the template for the way Minnesota can go. So maybe at some point in the future, the table's set, and we're in a position where we consistently have the House. We variably have the Senate or vice versa. and then you can start to get some of these statewide wins.
Well, and Florida's the same way. I mean, it was 20 points by DeSantis, and Florida went Obama in 2012. So things do shift and change, and I agree. I mean,
Iowa went Obama.
Well, yeah, he was talking. Yeah, that's right. Iowa's going. Yeah, so it's just like it can change, and I think, well, I've made this pitch many times. Maybe it's not the right time for you, but if there comes a time, we need you.
There'll be a time. We're not going anywhere.
Well, okay. Win. Okay. I agree with failed candidate. All right, love it. Now, this is where we get past the joking and fun-loving stuff, and we go to what I think is actually quite serious. This is, well, first of all, let's go to the RCP average today, where it shows the battleground states. Remember, elections are decided by the Electoral College, and of that, there's really 6, 7 battleground states. For now, that's a good point. Zoom in a little bit there, Dawson. So right now, as it stands, Trump is leading. Now, this is all within the margin of error. We keep saying this every week, and take polls for what they're worth. The point is, it's the momentum. Yes, he's up by 1.5 in Arizona. He's up by 2.2 in Georgia. Georgia looks like a lost cause for the Democrats, which is great. I still believe it comes down to Pennsylvania. If Trump doesn't win Pennsylvania, assuming he wins North Carolina, he picks up Michigan, right? Let's say he picks up Michigan. He wins Nevada, which is going his direction. These are good. On 538, which another credible. Now, they use modeling. RCP is more just taking a bunch of the polls that are out there and averaging them. 538 as a model. 538 now has an even odds. Just go down to that chart. That's what's important. The line graph here. A line graph. You can see Trump has surged. So he was beating Joe Biden by quite a bit. It was going to be like that. It was going to be a slaughter because basically the vote of the left got suppressed. They did not like Joe Biden. And then Kamala gets in, and that explains the fundraising. I mean, they still are out fundraising Republicans, right? Because they have some excitement. They got a candidate that actually can, well, I guess sort of talk. I guess you really can't put together a sentence. The standards are very low on that side, let's put it that way. But you can see now Trump is starting to pull away, and he really is winning a lot of the undecideds, and that's a very small amount of people. And I think the base on the right is just equally, if maybe even more, excited about their candidate than the left. And I think right now when you look at what's going on with Kamala, we made this prediction on the show. We were almost not certain about it after a month, but we're like, she can't get away with not doing interviews because there's just too many hungry journalists that want it, right? This is on the resume, Brett Baer. Actually, I watched Brett Baer talking to Hannity, and he's like, I was so grateful to get the interview. Yes, because they all get to say they interviewed one of the major candidates and possibly the president of the United States. That's a resume builder, right? So there's too many journalists out there that are hungry for a story. So how could she literally just not talk to him? And that was Kamala's problem, is because she's damned if she does and damned if she doesn't.
So a lot of her base, right? So there's 40% of this country that no matter what, remember when Trump said, I could shoot someone in Fifth Avenue and you'll still vote for me, right? So this is it's the converse of that. She can do nothing, and 40% of the electorate will 100% vote for her, no matter what she does, no matter what she says. Okay, but independents are a growing pool, and many independents, in at least the polls and the studies of them that I've read, are just shy conservatives. They don't want the stigma and the label that comes with saying I'm a conservative or I'm a Republican, but they hold all the same values and they will vote in that direction. So the shy voter is a huge problem. Sampling bias, selection bias is a huge problem for all these polls, and they're all trying to use modeling in a variety of ways to overcome it. Purchasing patterns, buying public data to try to understand who these people are, build an avatar of who this voter is. But I think generally Democrat voters will tell you who they are honestly and can be believed in a poll. But I don't think the conservatives or independents follow that same thing.
Well, certainly
so they'll always underpoll. So when you get into polls where you start to see people actually saying, I'll vote Trump. I mean, the number of Trump signs that I see in neighborhoods where I never saw them before in Minnesota is wild. People are like, they're done. They're like, I don't care what you think of me. I'm going to put the sign in my yard. And that gets you all kinds of blowback from, you know, it's right next to a wall sign. It's right next to whatever. Your neighbors know where you're at. But people are kind of like, you know what, I'm done. I'm out of the closet. I'm a Trump supporter. I'm a conservative. I'm a Republican, whatever, however you want to phrase it. And I think Americans are kind of done with it. So that's really got to be the scary thing for the Democrats, is that if you look at like things like Polymarket and you look at the odds of a sweep, of a red sweep, those have shot up even faster than the Trump has, which is wild. No one, even a month ago, would have said that it used to be like 10% of a Republican sweep, and now it's like mid-30s.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say it's a sure thing. I think Trump's winning. I just saw Nate Silver had said his instincts say that it's going to be Trump.
Yes. Then he said, don't trust your
don't
gut.
always trust your gut. But my gut says Trump's going to win this thing. And it's the same prediction I've had for many months is she's eventually going to hurt herself. She's doing media. People see that. You don't do CNN if you're not trying to make appeal to undecided voters, and they're watching that. I mean, actually, the thing that I don't think gets talked about in that CNN town hall, she's trying these jokes, and she's laughing at her own jokes, and no one's laughing with her.
No, and she laughs like someone that's had like a whole bottle of Chardonnay. It's really cringe.
Yeah.
And then Trump's doing long-form
Putin
podcasts.
says it's contagious. She's got a contagious laugh, and it's going to bring joy around the world because, if she's
It's a party of
laughing,
joy.
that must mean everything is good. Everything is good in the world if Kamala is laughing. So, that's why Putin endorsed her.
So that's true, right? That's an endorsement she's probably not happy about. So Trump's doing long-form podcasts, right, which are the most dangerous thing.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a politician, right? You
He's
say
risking
one
it with
thing-
Joe Rogan tomorrow, isn't he?
Rogan, I mean, how do you handicap that? You think Joe's going to go at him hard? You think Joe's going to want to just be curious about what he does? Or they end up just talking about non-related stuff, right?
Well, then Joe's going to ask him about aliens. He's going to ask him about
I want to hear
JFK
Trump on
files.
aliens. I think that's
I know,
great.
but I want it after election so he could be just real.
But this humanizes him. I mean,
I know, but there's too many
this.
consequences. This isn't going to be the interview that I want. Plus, I want it after the election so he can have Alex Jones on at the same time. You can't tell me that's not the best political entertainment. Rogan, Alex Jones, and
Throw Tucker in there.
well,
Just the three of them.
Oh no, Tucker might ruin it. Shane Gillis might be good. Yeah, Tucker's kind of corny. He's good. Good interviewer, but he's corny. He's like quirky.
Yeah.
But Alex Jones. Let's see, Alex Jones will steal a show. That one actually might not go well. Having Alex Jones and Trump, you got two guys that
Trump
are
has been on InfoWars before.
Yeah, but that's
and Alex
one-on-one.
Jones. Yeah, but Alex Jones was, he was letting Trump talk. He understood how to handle the situation.
Oh, fair.
I think it's gonna water Alex Jones down if you get Trump and him on the same
He
platform.
probably wouldn't drink as
Yeah,
much.
you won't get peak Trump or
Yeah.
peak Alex Jones.
All right, let's add Elon Musk into that equation then. That would be a good. That'd be good. Give us the podcast you want, damn it, and do it on Kill Tony. That would be perfect. All right, so let's get into some serious stuff. This is Kamala Harris. So we're hearing about these October surprises. Apparently, one of the October surprises, certainly planned, former chief of staff for Donald Trump. By the way, it's very obvious the deep state was really circling around Donald Trump and forced themselves into his administration early on. Trump's even admitted that has been one of the biggest mistakes that he made in his first. Oh my God, he can admit a mistake. Kamala can't, but he can. So that he let too many of these people in, and one of those being John Kelly, former general, former chief of staff, saying that Trump literally wanted, Hitler's generals, that type of people, like generals that are loyal, like they were for Hitler. I can't remember what the comment is, but essentially Trump's a Nazi. Go ahead and play this. This is Kamala, and there are no questions, no answers and questions, Q&A press conference the other day.
So yesterday we learned that Donald Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, a retired four-star general, confirmed that while Donald Trump was president, he said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him. He wants a military who will be loyal to him personally, one that will obey his orders even when he tells them to break the law or abandon their oath to the Constitution of the United States. In just the past week, Donald Trump has repeatedly called his fellow Americans the enemy from within, and even said that he would use the United States military to go after American citizens. And let's be clear about who he considers to be the enemy from within. Anyone who refuses to bend a knee or dares to criticize him would qualify, in his mind, as the enemy within. Like judges, like journalists, like nonpartisan election officials. It is deeply troubling and incredibly dangerous that Donald Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler, the man who is responsible for the deaths of 6 million Jews and hundreds of thousands of Americans. All of
Okay,
this
let's
is
stop right there. I think you get the
evidence.
point here. Now, I am some wacko crazy person, and I listen to that and I go, yeah, we need to kill this guy. I mean, is she just not, is she willing to just admit what she wants at this point?
No,
We need
so
to,
the thing with people like this is they tell you what they're doing and they project it onto somebody else.
yeah.
So,
good point.
right, you were in the military. What happened to the Flag Officer Corps after Obama took over?
Oh, it was very politicized.
It got gutted,
very
right? It
bad,
got rid of men and women who were willing to defend the Constitution and
Yeah.
die for that, and got replaced by people who were willing to toe the corporate line. Okay.
He, hims.
Yeah, he, hims. The DOD just came out with a set of regulations that now, it's violation of posse comitatus, allows them to assist local law enforcement. That's totally illegal. You can't do that. You can't use military unless it's the Guard, and then they're going through the governor, and they're assisting law enforcement capabilities that way. But now they're allowed to use lethal force against Americans. Whose watch did that happen on? Hers. So they tell you what they're going to do, and then they just project it onto you. I think no one has done more to weaken our military than successive Democrat, so starting with Obama administrations. No one has politicized the military more than those. No one has weakened our ability to project force internationally than those administrations. And now it seems like they're laying the groundwork to deploy it against Americans if somehow they feel like there's not a free and fair election. I mean, Jamie Raskin, right, says, like, I'm not going to certify an election.
Right.
Oh, who's the election denier here?
Right.
It's wild. And your average voter doesn't know about any of this, but this is all true. Right? That DOD directive is true. Jamie Raskin's on tape saying these things. They've destroyed the Flag Officer Corps, and they're destroying our military. And, I worry a lot about that. I mean, it's all of these institutions, right? Our judiciary, law enforcement, the military, they were all supposed to be apolitical. They weren't supposed to care who was there. They served the Constitution. They served the ideals of America. And the minute you start to just make them a political tool, we're just like every other banana republic where the generals serve at the behest of whatever despot is in power. And that's the more concerning thing, is once you start destroying institutions, you destroy a country from the inside.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great point. I didn't even thought of that angle, because you keep hearing them talk about how he's going to weaponize the government, that he is, he's talking about the enemy within. And literally, you have a comment, I forgot to play this, but we have Joe Biden literally saying we should lock him up. Did you guys see that?
Yes.
Yeah,
And then he
Joe
tries to
Biden
walk it
says-
back.
He tries to walk it back.
He said it.
Yeah, you said it.
Yeah.
And you're literally the commander in chief. And oh, by the way, they are trying to lock up him right now. They just tied.
He said lock him up politically.
Yeah. What?
Right.
What?
How do you lock someone up politically?
He said lock him up, and then he said, I meant politically.
No,
Yeah,
let's go.
right.
Dawson, go to my Twitter account. Let's make sure we get this here, because I did post this video, and it is actually pretty concerning and important that people understand this. I believe it just came out that, who is the one that Fannie Willis? Fannie? What's her name?
Fannie.
It's not
In
Fannie.
Georgia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not Fannie, though. It's not.
Yeah, it's
Fannie.
Fannie.
I thought it was like Fannie or something.
Fanny, like
No,
the
it's
butt.
it's Fanny.
It's
She
Fanny?
wants to
Okay.
say it's something else.
Oh, does she?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, don't dead name her. Fannie Willis's lover that she had hired. Apparently, didn't they prove that he was working with?
He met with the White House.
There you go.
Yeah.
Scroll down here, Dawson. We're gonna find this here real quick. Keep going down. That's that beautiful story. There's Lisa, the 50-year-old. Keep going down. Those keep going.
What are
going.
we
Oh, there
looking-
you go. Hold on. Go back up there. That's that's White Dudes for Harris.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going down. Keep going down. Should be right around here. Go. Keep going. Where is it? Did I not? Am I blanking out here?
What-
I
what
swear
are
to
we
God, I
looking
posted
for?
this.
We're looking for Biden.
Did I not post this? I thought I posted it. Well, we just saw my whole Twitter feed. There we go. Well, okay. Essentially, he says, I mean, it's unmistakable. He says we should lock him up, and the crowd cheers. And then he tries to save face saying lock him up politically. Like, that doesn't even make sense. So this is like bad stuff these guys are doing. They literally are trying to lock him up. There's lawfare, but then they accuse Trump of doing it. He's going to go after his political enemies. My God, what are you guys doing? Oh, okay. So then we're told, go to the B5, Dawson. We're told by journalist Mark Halperin that there is a story being pitched to a bunch of journalists. That's an October surprise that will end the Trump campaign.
Is this Newsweek?
Yeah, it's Newsweek.
Yep.
Yeah, by the way, we're old enough, guys. Jesse would been too young, but where Newsweek was like a credible
It was an actual
weekly,
newspaper.
Yeah, now it's like junk news online. But anyhow, Newsweek, but they're quoting Mark Halperin, says he's been pitched a story that could end Trump's campaign. By the way, 3 paragraphs in, Mark Halperin says, but I don't believe it to be true.
Well, yeah, because I think it's getting pitched to everybody, and the fact that no one's taken it yet means
no
it's
one's
probably
taken
sketchy.
We believe.
Right. It sounds like CNN rejected it. It sounds like the Huffington Post rejected it. So if CNN and the Huffington Post don't see it as credible enough to go after Trump, that means it's not real.
Okay, but we believe the story at this point is from The Guardian, so The Guardian picked it up. This is reported yesterday. A woman who says, surprise, Trump groped me in what felt like a twisted game with Jeffrey Epstein, former model, alleges. Convenient. I mean, he only ran for president 2 times before and has been a public figure, and we hear about this story late October. Like, literally, who's going to believe this story, you know? Oh, that's apparently the October surprise, other than George Santos is on the beat for
October surprise.
Oh my God.
There's been body language experts that have reviewed her videos and whatnot, and they think that she's not being honest. And there's no way to completely tell based on that, but there are some good body language experts out there that can draw good conclusions from that.
That sounds funny. But yes, body language is a very important thing to understand, and I think most of us could tell when people are lying. And first of all, how could you prove it? Like, the timing is just he's been in the public eye forever, and he ran for president twice. And literally, the guy was found liable for sexual, what was it? It's not sexual assault. What was he found liable for?
Harassment?
I think it was sexual harassment. Yeah.
I have no idea.
He was not found liable for, he wasn't found liable for rape.
Who?
That story was crazy. The E. Jean Carroll.
Yeah, Eugene Carroll.
The fact that was even found liable for anything.
So if you're a political campaign and you're at this point, it means you have nothing else to run. Right? So what are people checking the box for? The economy, the economy, the economy, right? Was it James Carville's The Economy Stupid?
Yep.
Or, crime, borders, immigration.
Yep.
Right? And then after that, a variety of things. Like even, when they poll abortion, that moves people like it's like in the single digits, right? Yeah. That's not a primary mover of what people are voting for. They're voting for the fact that everything in their house costs 30-40% more than it did in 2020. So if she's not talking about that in every single situation, it means that their internal polling data is horrific, and all she has left are ad hominem attacks or these kind of bizarre appeals to the most, prurient features of her base.
Right.
And none of those bodes well for the person who's using that line of attack.
Well, and she's also got the talking point, and they've had this, in fairness, since the get-go. I'm not Donald Trump, right?
Right.
And that seems to be what is the epitome of her support, because I don't know anyone that was, Neil, you ran shortly. You have the Charmy. You have people that literally... like myself, that would love to come back and help you anytime possible to run. I don't know these Kamala people. I don't think they really exist. I mean, there's surely some, but usually like you can find Bernie Sanders people. You can find the Ron Paulers. There's not the Kamalers. I don't know any Kamalers out there. Let's go get that Rumble Rant.
Let's see. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, $5 Rumble Rant says, adult male has sex with an adult female, bad. Adult male has sex with little boys, good. Yep, that's the Democratic agenda nowadays.
By the way, there's, oh, God, this is, I shouldn't say this as a guy that runs a podcast, but it's almost better everyone just shuts off all news sources for the next 2-3 weeks because it's going to get bad. I mean, I don't even care what George Santos says.
No
it's like, why would anyone believe you, George Santos? And he's from the right. And it's like, oh, yeah, Walz slept with this kid. And then they come out with this video. And it's like, didn't the kid have like a British or Australian accent? I'm like, bullshit. There's no truth to this story. So you're getting gaslit on the right. And then you're getting clearly gaslit on the left. It's like, what is there to believe? I mean, I guess that's why we have the show called Truth Hurts, is we're going to try to get to the bottom of things. You know, Mark does this too. He really tries to get to the bottom of things, but like try to find the truth and stuff because you're getting so much garbage out there.
Well, the truth is everything in your house costs 30 or 40% more.
Bingo, there you go.
Right? I mean,
Love
and
it.
vote based on that.
Yep.
Vote based on who you think has a set of policies that are going to reduce the cost of your groceries and your gas and your electricity and make your public school better and make your street safer.
That's a great point. Okay, let's get into the story on Royce White.
I can't leave this joke. If we're spending 2 weeks without news, that's 2 weeks to stop the spread of misinformation.
There you go. That's probably what we need to do, you know, in many regards. Well, you won't get it on this show. You know what you will get on this show is good, cutting-edge truth. And we couldn't do this without our great sponsors, Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. Do you know Warren?
I do. Yeah.
Good. If you're, Neil, don't move, but if you ever do move and you need to buy a home.
Well, I might buy some more land in Minnesota.
There you go. Give Warren a call, 612-419-7453. He is actually my real estate agent. I say that like I'm buying and selling all the time.
You're buying property left and right.
Yeah, right. But well, if I was, that's who I'm calling. I'm dead serious. The guy is really good. He actually saved my butt when we were buying a home. Actually, we didn't end up buying a home because of Warren's great advice. And he's incentivized to sell, you know, to make sure we buy that home because he gets a cut of it, right? It's his commission. Right. And he gave me good advice, and it turned out saved my butt, and we didn't buy that home, and we bought a home that we like. So give Warren a call. Now, if you're buying a home, you got to finance it most likely. Are you paying it with cash? If you're paying for cash, good for you. But if you're not paying with cash, you got to finance that home. And I'd go to the good guys at John Galt Mortgage Company. Go to johngaltmortgage.com. Tim and Andrew and the gang, you know the Shermacks, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Good guys.
Great guys.
Yep. So, and they believe the same things that you and I believe in. This is their hobby company, which means that they're not out there to just maximize profits. They are probably giving you the best rate out there and then taking whatever they get from this company and putting it back in some libertarian ideas, which I love. So johngaltmortgagecompany.com, also brought to you by Alpine Cabinetry in St. Cloud, Minnesota. You can visit Alpine Cabinetry if you are looking for new cabinets. All right, Jesse, let's talk about this. I got a letter in the mail. The GOP wants more of my money.
All right.
Last time I gave them money.
Yeah, Dawson, let's go ahead and pull up C1 on the document there because Royce White is calling out Rhino David Hann. As we all know, the MNGOP has let down conservatives and failed time and time again. This is because of David Hann, who has destroyed the MNGOP, causing financial ruin, abandoning core principles, disenfranchising delegates to rig endorsing conventions, and being completely out of touch with the grassroots. They just sent out a new mailer to try to weasel some cash out of supporters. And obnoxiously on this letter is unendorsed Rhino Joe Tayrab, who has never won or received the endorsement of CD2 GOP delegates. But noticeably missing from that mailer was one of the only two partisan statewide races going on the election cycle, the U.S. Senate race. So you can see that mailer there. I got it listed.
I literally got it in my hand because I'm on their list. And, yeah, you could see it right here. Their number one priority is to win Minnesota for Trump. Number two is to get a bunch of the rhinos in the Congress, including globalist rhino Tom Emmer elected, and Joe Tayrab and Tad Jude. And three is the Senate district special election. Four is the state house. Five is people in Lake Elmo, which I don't even like that Republican. Yeah, you would think your U.S. Senate endorsed candidate would be on this, right?
Right. It doesn't make any sense. And it also is weird that they left off the CD4 and CD5 candidates for Congress as well. I'm not sure why they decided to not mention them. So, you know, but Royce White, of course, is the U.S. Senate candidate. He's been running an anti-establishment campaign where he's, you know, some people say defied the odds by winning the primary and endorsement. But he's polling closer than any Republican in history to shaky Amy Klobuchar, which shows that, you know, embracing the controversy and staking the grounds on your own terms is really how you can win an election. So he put out a post on X where he pulled no punches. He said that David Hann smiles in his face and then pulls this kind of BS. He said that David Hann and the party leaders are neocons, and he said that David Hann, the MNGOP, decided to go to war with the grassroots. We all know that David Hann has had these dirty tactics going for a long time. Scroll down a little bit. I made a list. This is maybe the most comprehensive list I've made of what David Hann has accomplished or what should be his failures as a leader of the MNGOP. Number one, he disenfranchised duly elected delegates in Otter Tail County. He ran away from Eric Mortensen when he questioned him about Otter Tail. David Hand tried to hide the disenfranchisement of Otter Tail from the public and state central delegates, then attacked state executive members who informed people what was going on. He sent a mailer to people asking for money for an unendorsed Michelle Fischbach. He cut off data access to 5 endorsed Republican candidates in 2022, weeks ahead of the primary election. He sent a mass email attacking A4L and celebrating a phony CFB complaint that was filed against us. We won and remain undefeated.
And Neil Shaw,
and Neil
right?
Shaw,
Yeah.
Yep.
Which we did nothing wrong.
Yep.
God.
He has kept the MNGOP buried in debt until Trump showed up and bailed them out. The party got a $100,000 fine from the FEC under his watch. He argues that Democrats are not the GOP's enemy.
Wait, hold on. I thought that 100K one was for his predecessor.
No.
Was it?
No, that was in 2022.
Yeah, but wasn't it? No, but I think it was his predecessor.
Okay, well, I'll
you might want to go fact check that one.
It still happened under his watch.
Yeah, I know, but if he took over the reins, just to be fair, I mean, listen, you got a damn good list here. There's plenty to go after.
Then let's keep going here. He's been hypercritical of President Trump, saying that the GOP is, quote, not the party of Trump in 2021, that he's not a Trump guy in 2021, and they did not want Trump to visit in 2022 to help out Scott Jensen. There have been 0 statewide office wins, 0 Congress flips, lost 4-year control of the state Senate and 2-year control of the state House. And then he sent a memo to GOP candidates in 2022 demanding that they say abortion up to the moment of birth is a protected constitutional right in the state of Minnesota. So he's had all these failures. People need to know that in December, the State Central Committee will be meeting and they will be electing a new state chair. I've been hearing rumors about whether or not David Hand is even going to run again, because even the establishment might be sick of losing. Even establishment Republicans still want a Republican majority in some cases, not in all. But there are a few people who have already stepped up to the plate to announce that they are going to run against David Hand. Kathleen Quist is one of them. Brett Bussman is another. We even got Forrest Hyatt, who is an Josh Oompa Loompa Heinzman loyalist. And it sounds like he wanted to punch you in the face one time, Jake. So it looks like we got all kinds of good candidates lined up, ready to go for the state central. And I can't wait to see if any other names decide to come out. But, you know, one name that has been floated out there is former Mayor Mike Murphy, who upset a lot of delegates at the 2022 convention for his ladder climbing and political gamesmanship after he got defeated. And then many were let down by Murphy after he announced a run for chair in 2022 just to bail out of it and leave only Phil Parrish to challenge Hand. Then Murphy said he was going to run for Congress in CD2, but he bailed out on that one as well. He was voted out as mayor of Lexington in 2022, but then he had a rushed, non-transparent, and unfair appointment to the city council with the help of corrupt CD6 chair Bobby Benson and other council members.
Wait.
So,
Wait, hold on. I didn't know this story. He's on the city council again, so he gets taken out as mayor, and now he's on the city council?
He's on the city council.
Is he running for mayor?
He's running for mayor again. Yep, he's running against the guy who defeated him last time, Bobby Benson, who is on the city council, who's also the CD6 chair, who also helped rig the CD6 convention for Tom Emmer, which I should add.
The convention, Emmer was most likely
I could add, Mike Murphy voted to not let Chris Corey speak. He wanted Emmer to run unopposed on that one as well.
Wait, so is Murphy running for chair?
It's a rumor.
Oh, it's a rumor.
It's a rumor. And
don't get on Jesse's bad side. That's the thing you guys got to learn. Do not get on his bad side.
And so, so to the point, he got appointed to the city council. Again, the mayor was the only one who voted against it. It was because of Bobby Benson, who this was a rush process. The council member resigned from her seat. Even she said, this is happening so fast, the public's not informed about this. The public didn't get a chance to apply for this position. So Mike Murphy just got handed the position because he's good friends with Bobby Benson. So is that the kind of guy we want leading the MNGOP? Not me.
Okay. Good job there, Jesse. Fantastic story. Yeah. We did ask Royce if he wanted to just zoom in and talk about, maybe we'll get a statement. He's been fun to have on the show. I enjoyed chatting with him. He is not your typical candidate, I'll put it that way. Before we get to our post show, which we're going to bring Liberty Longbeard on, there's rumors, or at least a call for Tushy to be one of the candidates for MNGOP chair. So Tushy is going to officially respond to it in the post show. But before we get to Tushy, I thought this would be kind of fun. Are you voting for Trump? Let's have an Are You Voting for Trump segment. People take it for granted, like, oh, Jake, of course she's voting for Trump. That's what you said the other day, Jesse. It was not a foregone conclusion. Honest to God. Have I
No,
not?
I think you want to be tough, but I think at the end of the day, once you're looking at those options, of course it's Trump.
But
of course it is.
Have I not had legitimate concerns about Trump? Have I not, like,
Sure,
on
but
debt?
find a better option.
Well, fair. The Libertarians really screwed this one up this cycle.
Yeah.
I voted for Gary
Pro
Johnson in
drag queen.
2016 because he didn't know where Aleppo was, and I thought
1,250 other options that we'll never hear about, that'll never get a chance,
isn't that sad?
because the MSM makes it that way.
Yeah.
You're
And-
saying
and
all those
us-
candidates
and us as the
register on the
people.
FEC?
And us as the people,
Mm-hmm.
we allow it. We continue to do this decade after decade after decade.
Yeah.
And we continue to allow it. So it boils down to two choices in America, United States. Let me be clear. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You'll have
I'm
to work
sorry.
on it.
No, joking, but not joking because.
But you got to be from a middle income family too. Remember, let me be clear. I come from a middle income family.
But that also was, I think, so appealing about Bobby Kennedy's campaign.
Yes.
Was he was a legitimate. Now, obviously, I have big policy differences with Bobby on a variety of things, but there's a lot of things where I agree with him on. And, and to be fair to the people that want like a Bernie, like why isn't Bernie on there along with somebody else, right?
Oh,
Give
we would love
people-
that.
give people a choice. I
Right,
mean,
exactly.
2016 should have been Bernie versus Trump,
Well,
which would have been an interesting election.
George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, maybe there were others that wrote about the problem with the two-party system, that it would destroy our republic.
Yeah.
So their hope, or their at least that's my understanding, that they said if we ever go to a two-party system, the republic is done. And look where we've been and how long. Jake, I'm not even sure. Actually, I'm pretty sure that we don't even have a republic anymore. Not a true republic as our founding, as the founders of our country intended and actually set. I mean, man, not just intended, but the price that was paid. So I think, Neil, you said something earlier that kind of hit the nail on the head for me too, is we talk about the polls show that, what's important to people, economy, being able to pay their bills, put food on their table. Absolutely, those are all things that should be important to us. But what really concerns me and has for a long time is where does the issue of abortion, where does that come in? And that's, like you said, in the single digits. That's not necessarily, the most important thing to people. But when we look at what our country was founded on, it was founded on godly principles. It was founded on right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right, for all human beings, whether that human being happens to be, still baking in the womb, or that, I have 8 children and 18 grandchildren by the end of this year, and so super pro-life, very much an advocate for the unborn child. But where are we as a nation when and I think, Jake, back to, remember the convention where Gene, I was running for Senate.
State Senate, yep.
Yeah, against my used to be good friend Gene Dornick.
Yep.
Who I
did I not warn you about all these politicians who are your friends?
You did.
I was right about that, wasn't I?
You were definitely right.
You learn who are your friends when they won't even show up to a rally supporting you.
You definitely were right on that. But the thing is I knew this man and I supported him and know his family. We churched with him. We broke bread with them in their home for years and years. And I voted for him, and we got Gene in. And that's the issue that I see with this two-party system. And honestly, I don't have a lot of hope in the two-party system. I don't know that I have really any hope in the two-party system. My hope is in the Lord Jesus Christ. I pray for a revival for our country, because that's really what we need in this country. Is we need people to get back to the truth of the Word. We need people to get repent. I feel that what we're experiencing now is judgment. I absolutely do. The Bible warns us of judgment coming when we walk away from God. And God has been very long-suffering, but we have allowed so much sin and turning a blind eye and using these candidates, or the elected officials, elected public servants, whatever you want to call them. And using that as an example, that day in that convention, I'm trying to remember what we were in Albert Lee.
Yep.
And I got to speak, and I got to share a little bit about what I was doing. Here's what I want to offer as your next senator, and then posed that omnibus bill. That
Yep. Whatever.
550,
1,000 pages,
600 page
500, doesn't
omnibus. It
matter.
doesn't matter.
No one read it.
And I brought up the fact that in that Gene Dornick had voted yes on that omnibus bill, and right on page 464 or something like that is appropriations for abortion. And the negative that they brought up about me that day, do you remember what that was?
Oh yeah,
Jake?
they said you were fleeing cops.
Yeah.
That you were
Yeah.
breaking the law
on the land.
I was so disgusted by that Republicans didn't think of you as a hero for standing up against a tyrannical governor, and instead made it sound like you were anti-police. And even that sheriff who, I was just following orders, I guess, basically came out and endorsed Gene. And by the way, Gene didn't live in the district. He
Sheriff
moved
Freitag.
into the district. It was actually an open Senate district, and he bought a house in the district.
That's true. While they were
Or
still
owned a house
living-
and then moved to that house,
right,
right? Or did he
right.
move that?
But all these things are so acceptable, and we go back to morals, and we go back to God's law, the 10 Commandments, and so here we have a country that, I mean, who even knows the 10 Commandments anymore? And where are we? We could get off here.
Well, let me ask you this. So I look at it this way, and I'm agreeing with everything you say, but eventually you get to 2 weeks before an election.
Do you really?
Well, yeah, 2 weeks. Oh, very much so. Obviously, you and I are very much constitutionally based. You get 2 weeks to election, and it turns out it's a dichotomy. I mean, the polling isn't missing by that much. It's a dichotomy. There's two choices. One of those two people will get elected.
Right.
Now, unless you somehow can get in the next 2 weeks a movement of people to say, nope, we're going a different direction.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those two people. So that's the way, that's the lens I look into it.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, at this stage, I'm pretty confidently voting for Trump. The same reason I voted for Trump in 2020, despite all the issues I have against him, praising Fauci at the end. I mean, literally gave Fauci an award at the end of his time. He increased the debt. He actually instituted a socialistic style program in the money that he just handed American citizens, acting like we just have a pot of money there that's ready for the pandemic. There's a lot of good. I'm just picking out some of the bad things and the reason, and some monumental things, like he's not good on government spending. He's terrible on that. So there's a lot of reasons for me to dislike him. But I fear what the opposition's going to bring. I'm looking into, I know what Tim Walz is. I voted for Scott Jensen. Jensen did not deserve my vote at all. But Tim Walz is really bad. And I don't actually think, I'll be honest, I don't think Kamala is that bad. I am afraid of what's pulling the strings there. It's like, was that Elon joked about it on his Tucker interview. He's like, no one's trying to assassinate her. They could just replace her, because they can. They can literally replace her. She is nothing.
Yeah.
She is. We just learned they could have a president who literally is not even there up here.
Yeah.
They can have that.
Yeah.
And so there's some machine behind it, and whatever that machine is not going to stand for the First Amendment.
Yeah.
And they just pulled this trick where we all saw it. This guy is senile. He's not there in his faculties, and we'll just throw a coup against him and install another terrible choice. No votes, no primary occurred.
Right.
And for me to sit back and go, oh, yeah, I'm just going to let that happen. It's like, oh, that is what I'm voting for.
But
and to
this
me,
is
it's a
where-
dichotomy now. And so that's my vote for Trump, is because I am against that I'm against what that machine
So
represents.
this is where we're at.
Yeah. Right.
And we didn't just get here.
In
the last 4 years or the last 8
Thatcher's
years
ratchet
or whatever.
got us here. Yeah. So I totally appreciate where you're coming from. I mean, to paraphrase Mother Teresa, how is God supposed to bless a country that kills its unborn children, right? It's a very critical issue for me. In the last election, like you, I voted for Scott, even though I think he's bad on, guns and babies are like my two issues, and he's bad on both of them. Okay. So maybe another way to phrase it is, I agree that our country is, I think there's divine providence in the formation of this country. I think we are the last hope of freedom on the whole planet. Does one candidate get us closer to being a godly country, and does the other candidate move us further away? It's not that they're going to get us to the finish line or even a large step. Some candidates will get you a larger step or a smaller step. In this case, I think Trump is not good on guns, and he's not good on babies. He's good on a variety of things, and he has other weaknesses. But I think he moves us in the right direction in a way, and the other direction is a dramatic step the wrong way, shredding the Constitution and weakening our institutions and destroying us from the inside out. And I really think that, looking at any election as some kind of savior that's going to come repair this country is not an effective lens. I mean, Americans, like you and I, need to fix this country. Yeah. And if we want to protect unborn Americans, we have to win every battle one-on-one over time and move the ball in that direction. And it's going to be a long time before we finally get it there. I think a dedicated minority will always prevail if they always, work in that direction of what that end is. And I think that those of us that want to defend life will never give up and will never compromise. And there are times where you're going to have to elect someone that I don't think is as much of a step forward as I'd like to take, but it's better than a much larger step the wrong way. And so I think with all those provisos and caveats, I think Trump in 24 is better than Trump in 20 and better than Trump in 16. I think that he'll be more effective as an executive, understanding how deep the deep state is, who exactly needs to get fired. I think his orbit has better people in it. I think his kids will help protect him in many ways where they didn't realize how much of that they had to do before. And my hope is
hopefully
that,
more Don Jr., less Ivanka this time.
Yeah, right. And my hope is more of this massive realignment of American political society into again, what Kennedy used to be and what the Republican Party has become. And my faith is, I think, in that, if I were to use that word, in that movement, that realignment of everyday working Americans who are actually going to fix this country, are deciding that they need to be politically enfranchised. And I hope that they run for school boards and city councils and mayors and work their way up the bench. And eventually we have more than just Mike Lee and Rand Paul, or just more than just Thomas Massey, right, at the federal level. But those are late sequelae. The beginnings are all at the state and local levels. And why that flyer is so concerning to me, the chair of the Minnesota GOP shouldn't be afraid of what's going to happen in Congress, okay? Our congressional delegation is not going to shift. Right. Our senator is not going to change.
Right.
But what could change is the House and the Senate in the state.
Yeah.
Destroying the Democrats' trifecta and setting the stage for having a healthy Republican Party that can fundraise, that has a good bench of candidates, and that over time can kind of eventually get us a trifecta.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I'm thinking too is if conservatives withheld their vote for Trump, and if Trump were to lose the election, I think the GOP is going to get the completely wrong message from it too. I think the GOP, the establishment, would say, I think we need to moderate more. We need to become even more establishment, because if Trump wasn't able to win, that's because he's too out there, and we need to have someone more to the center. So I think that if we, I'm all for withholding votes for, certain candidates and whatnot for, to get pressure and to get certain accomplishments out of them and to, get certain promises and whatnot. But I think that if we throw out Trump, then we're going to get the old GOP, which is even worse than what we have now.
That is a good point. So, Neil, are you planning on voting for Trump then?
Enthusiastically. Yeah. I mean, I could be more enthusiastic. I think there's certain things.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope that the people in his orbit push him in the correct direction on some of these issues over time. But I think he's a much better candidate than he was in the past. And I'm going to vote straight Republican down ticket.
Well, and that's my hope, is that, like you said, that he's learned the mistakes of the past. Kamala's never made one, by the way. So Trump learned those mistakes, and those deep state people that were surrounding him aren't in there, and maybe he actually does something to the swamp. Because that's the other thing that's unmistakable, is the swamp grew under his term. His last omnibus bill he signed, was the most massive piece of junk ever. It's so the swamp's gotten bigger. But perhaps he wasn't equipped to fight it the first time, and this next time it's clear his last rodeo. So if there's a chance of somebody doing something, Bobby Kennedy had a great point. When I've said this a gazillion times, watch the speech where he drops out and endorses Trump, and what he says is, one of his main reasons is, the childhood obesity problem is one of the largest ones, and I can make a mark there, and it's mostly what this campaign's about. And Trump was willing to listen to me. They're willing to put me into some position, to do something. And meanwhile, Kamala's campaign won't even answer the phone. And it's he goes, I'm 70 years old. What do I have, another 10 years? I'm good. So if Kamala's in for 8 years, I can't contribute. And it's that's exactly it. We know what's going to happen in those years with Kamala. We know you're not going to move anything forward. Yeah. Whereas with Trump, there's at least some hope in that, right?
Yeah, and I get that, and I appreciate what you're both saying. And believe me, man, we have gone over this, and as you know, my eyes have continued to be open more and more and more. And honestly, you know, I'm not a history buff like you are, Neil, and you love it and you have a passion for it, and I can see that. And I wish that, you know, I could quickly catch up with all of you that know, you know, history, and you as well, Jake. And just being around you guys, you know, is just it's amazing to listen to all of this. And if I could just finish, so I don't want to sound like a fool. I didn't finish the story about when Gene and I were at the endorsement convention. That's what it was. And I shared, you know, here you're a room full of, or mostly anyway, pro-life people. And, you know, this is what my friend is voting for. And you know, no, I don't wish any ill will on Gene. I never have. You know, they've been friends, and they're good people. They're good Christian people. But when you put somebody up that,
when you lie, I don't know.
well, I don't. You know, when we knew them, okay, I don't know what's happened. But when you put somebody up there like a Gene, that just doesn't. He's not cut out for that kind of stuff. He's absolutely controlled. He's, you know, up there. But what happened at that convention is he got and I'm not sour, not bitter. I didn't want the job. I did it because people asked me to run, and otherwise I would have never run. But I had a bunch of people asking me, and so, you know, during that convention, he got the endorsement. I think he got 2/3 or a little over 2/3 of the vote, and that's what it came down to. That's the point I'm trying to make. Is it came down to we would rather have the baby killer than the woman who allegedly ran from the law.
Well,
but anyway, and
no
I'm
one's
not
going to
bringing.
remember Gene Dornick's name down the road
And
for
I'm not-
standing up and
yeah.
making some big mark on the freedom movement. They will remember Lisa Hanson as the defiant person who gave so much that you literally were thrown into jail over Christmas break, missed the birth of a grandchild, for standing up for what was right. Because what you did was right. This guy never made that sacrifice.
Yeah.
You did. And it really opened my eyes to that district that you lived in, because I know there's other districts where you would have gotten a totally different reaction. They would have praised you for what you did, and they didn't there. And I was like, that doesn't sit right with me. And then to have that sheriff literally like endorse Gene and, you know, smack talk you as like you're not following the law. It's like, you're not following the law? You served a damn cup of coffee to willing patrons in America. That should not be illegal.
Yeah.
It certainly should not be illegal because one guy decreed it being illegal.
Right.
And that's what happened.
Right. There was a whole lot of stuff going on in that community, you know, with the prosecutor and then the city manager. And I mean, I haven't
Let's
told
never
you how,
forget what it stemmed from. It was one guy deciding you
That's
can't
right.
serve a cup of coffee to a willing
That's
patron.
right. And I
And by
agree.
the way, how many cases of COVID were
Right.
found
how many
traced to
cases,
your location?
How many injuries? How many
any,
deaths?
Were any? No
Zero.
spread? Zero. Okay.
Zero. But
you gotta trust the science.
yeah. But
What were you gonna say? What were you gonna say, Neil?
Oh, no, I think that this idea, like, you know, the founders of this country broke the law. Okay?
Yeah. Well,
so when the
fair.
law becomes immoral,
civil disobedience.
you have a moral obligation to break the law.
Right.
And Befehl, Ich Befehl is not an actual argument, right? That's what every German at Nuremberg said. It doesn't work.
Right.
You don't escape moral culpability for enforcing a immoral law. So it was legal in this country to own slaves. That's an immoral law. Don't enforce it. We had a fugitive slave law. You could have just said, I'm not going to enforce that.
Yes.
We
Right.
illegally interned Japanese Americans without due process. That law was illegal. And, you know, there were, law enforcement officers who fulfilled that law. You have a choice. You turn in your badge and gun, and you're like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
I just refuse.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I have zero sympathy for people in law enforcement that will enforce bad laws.
Right.
Thank you. Yeah.
And
amen to that.
unfortunately, this has been studied. I can't remember what the study is. You would probably know this, Neil. But people trust authority figures. It was a famous study. I want to say it was Harvard.
Without question.
Where and they would actually have people. I'm trying to remember the condition, but it was like they had this fake button that would zap somebody as long as they were told. Does this sound familiar?
The Milgram prison
Milgram, there you go.
experiment?
Yes, the Milgram experiment. Yeah. And people would do it even though they could see it was causing harm.
They would do it to the point of death.
Yeah,
So
isn't
they
that
would
crazy?
actually keep turning it up until it seemed like the person in the other room died. And then people would
Isn't that
keep
I
crazy?
think we
pressing
watched a documentary on
Yeah,
that.
there's just-
so
a documentary on this recently, yeah.
Very
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
All right.
Insane.
Speaking of human experiments, do we have Tushi on here? Is he on Zoom?
You're gonna have to give me a little bit of time to get that.
Okay, but he is on Zoom. He is ready to go. Because Tushi has been called upon to run for MNGOP chair. By the way, as we're going to go into our post show, if you want to join us post show, you can go to truthhurtsnews.com or on the top of Rumble, hit join if you're not already an $8 a month subscriber. If you are, you guys know we're going to be on locals. We're going to hear from Liberty Longbeard. I can't wait. I don't know if he's going to give us a jingle. He's going to give us platform, his campaign speech for MNGOP chair. Is he going to run for MNGOP chair? I don't know what he's got in store. That's the fun of having Tushi in our post show. Tucker 91's got a Rumble rant.
Oh yeah, $5 Rumble rant from Tucker. He says, "Does the show have any plans for All Hallows Eve?"
Well, Dawson and I happen to be massive Halloween guys. It does. The show is going to have to be short because it conflicts with the time for me to set up my Halloween or my haunted house.
Is it on a Tuesday or Thursday?
It's on a Thursday.
Oh,
yeah, and with no school on Friday, so it's gonna be great. Kids love coming over.
Our kids have school.
We like.
You go to real school.
Yeah, you go to godly school.
That's right.
But anyhow, we can't do this show without our great sponsors. I was gonna say Keller Williams. Warren Wessel of Keller Williams. If you're looking to buy a home or sell a home, give Warren a call. John Galt Mortgage Company. Go to johngaltmortgage.com. And Alpine Chemistry in St. Cloud. We also couldn't do it with our great subscribers. Go to and our Rumble rants, by the way, Tucker and Failed Candidate and Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. If I'm forgetting someone, sorry about that. Do we have Tushi on the Zoom?
It looks. I got an email that he's in.
But you don't see him in the thing?
It's up, and I am not.
He was supposed to be on there at 2,
now.
and boy, did we go long. Let me just message him.
He did pop in around 2, and he's not in there right now.
He probably like, crap, they're going so long.
Yep.
I'm going to say, need you now, buddy.
Okay, he's in.
No, I'm going to get crap from him.
I don't know if I can
You
show
said
this
2 o'clock,
picture.
Jake. It's 2:30. I'll blame it on Neil. Neil talked too long. Is he there?
Tushi, can you talk?
Tushi, there? There we are.
Yep, he's in.
Sorry, we went really late. We had a great conversation, Tushi, but I'm really excited. Tell us, there's calls for you to run for chair of the Minnesota GOP. Is that correct?
Yeah, do you see the flyer that's up there?
Oh, look at that. Liberty Longbeard, we the people. That is an interesting wardrobe there. All right, so if you guys want to join us and hear from Liberty Longbeard, by the way, have you guys heard his jingles? No. Oh, my God. Did we ever finish the Amy Klobuchar one? Oh, that one's good. All right, join us in the post show. For everyone else, we'll be back here on Tuesday with only a week left before the election. So join us in the post show right now. Thanks.